Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target Morning Brief, where we invest with fighter pilot precision on a daily basis. Have a great show for you today. We're back in the home office, so the entire suite of technology is available to me for this morning's program. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin at 63,000, which again is a new record. It was 60 yesterday, 63 today. And what's driving that? Is now the time to get in? I would say no, unless you just can't completely. I think it's going to 100,000. So you would say, well, using that thesis, obviously you would buy here. Like, well, I wouldn't be that excited about buying here. If you don't have any, you might buy some. And again, you don't have to buy one whole coin to participate, because obviously the price point is pretty high for that for most people. But it's up at 63,000. I think largely that's driven by the Coinbase IPO, which is tomorrow, which most of my work today will be reaching out to everybody to see who would like to be in on the Coinbase. I keep saying IPO, but it's a direct listing technically. So if you want some, then contact me, message, email, whatever, and I will make sure you participate. However, kind of like Kramer was saying this morning, this is not a pay any price kind of direct listing. So if it does end up, $450 per share, then no, probably not. I don't know. We'll have to take a look. There's no way to predict exactly how this is going to play out tomorrow. Just like last time with Roblox, right? That's why I sit here and stare at it all day and make decisions based off of the information as it becomes available. Also affecting the price of Bitcoin is China announcing the digital yuan. So some folks early on have said, hey, to compete with the cryptocurrencies, why doesn't the US initiate a digital dollar? And it's like, well, there's some complications with that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the digital yuan that China's coming up with and how that affects things. But overall, it's mostly based about, Bitcoin and where Bitcoin's going. Not really going to talk about all the underlying coins, even though that they tend to move a lot together, more together than not, actually. So if you're going to go off off of the main page with Bitcoin, you can go Ethereum or Ripple, or if you go past that, you're really kind of in the weeds a little bit, which I would consider that like penny stocks, if you will. Most of them are down in that price range. You have to kind of be an expert on that specific thing for you to be able to make a lot of money off it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, we're going to also have to talk about J&J a little bit and how that's affecting the medical stocks that potentially they're, getting a bad headline there about it causing blood clots, even though it really is a 1 in a million type case. However, potential impact of the J&J vaccine, how does that affect the vaccination, economy reopening, and of course the market. So that's what we've got for you today. A lot to talk about. So if you're catching us on replay, make sure you click subscribe as well as the notifications bell. And if you want to join us live, what you don't see is there's a Q&A window and a chat window, which I have my trades for the day listed there. And then folks can also ask me along the way. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, welcome back, everyone. Let me get the lineup card displayed here. There we go. All right, for those of you who didn't hear the open, we're going to talk about a lot about Bitcoin today and Coinbase IPO tomorrow. But before I do, shout out to a squadron member that is with us. And I won't use his real name, but one of the, if you will, junior members, younger than the rest of us, if you will, was on TV, and I just saw him pop up in the room. So congrats, buddy, on TV. All of a sudden, I was just like, hey, check that out. Here locally in Austin, participated in I would say investing slash stock picking competition. Was able to say a few words about what that means to him on TV. So it's very cool to see you up there. Congrats. Okay, so if you want to see more about that, send me a message and I will send you the link to the video. All right, everybody. Make sure you have your Q&A window and your chat window set up. Standard disclaimer applies as a financial education presentation. So you have to do your own due diligence before you act upon anything you hear in this presentation. Full disclaimer information is available at ototnow.com. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to talk about today, and that is Bitcoin 63,000. We are certainly going to it's high risk. So you think of growing our money here. Coinbase IPO is coming out tomorrow, direct listing technically, also a very high risk sort of thing. And the digital yuan, all of that is affecting the Bitcoin price, which has been screaming higher and may even be higher than 63 now. I haven't looked in 20 minutes. So you know that's when something's on the move, it's like, well, I need to check it again before I talk about it. But question of the day, we're going to kind of go back a little bit because I think this might be helpful for some of you. That's like, really, I'm putting $50,000, $100,000 positions into this stuff, and I truly don't understand it. And I'm like, that's okay. I would say the level of understanding that I have is decent, but not fluent by any means. So conversational language, if you go to visit somebody, it's like someplace, it's like I can get by by knowing what I'm talking about, but certainly not to the level of those that have been in the crypto game for 10 years, right? Who speak and live this stuff. And honestly, you can laugh or whatever, but for those that went crypto crazy 10 years ago thinking this was the future, well, they've made millions of dollars or multiple millions of dollars with that belief. So they're understandably passionate about their particular thing. So whether they're right or wrong or how all this movie ends is up for debate, but certainly they've been right so far, and it's like the craze, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Flow, long, short, open, short, long. We're going to do a market review, headline review, come back, look at the Greystone Bitcoin Trust company, which is how most of us hold it instead of holding it outright. We'll get into short-term execution. I'm going to put the trades over here. I'm not in love with any of these. CAN long and LHDX short are the best out there, but not like put all the chips in the middle kind of thing. And then the rest, obviously J&J is down about 3%, probably going to sell off today based off the news on their vaccine. And then of course, Novavax and Moderna gain from that. Marijuana stocks, AGC, Afria and Tilray both selling off with their merger, getting hit hard. So lots of things to look at trading today. All right, contingencies and academic resources are standard. Let's go over to TD Ameritrade platform for ThinkPipes and zoom back out to where we are as a market. What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 green candlesticks in a row. Can't really complain about that. That's kind of cool as far as how far we've run up. When you focus in here a little bit, get on the right chart here for the 5-day, you can kind of see this popping up. Why are you not popping up? All right, looks like we're not going to see the 5-day SPY, but basically it's kind of creeping higher, if you will, versus the raging higher that it did not too long ago. So we'll see how today ends up. Today was supposed to have a really bad inflation number. We did not have that this morning, so I think that's going to be muted. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin, Coinbase, and then of course J&J more so than an inflation number this morning. Okay, let's take a look at the futures. Let's refresh these real quick. Dow down a little bit. NASDAQ, that's what was supposed to get hit hard. Obviously, if we have the big inflation thing rearing its ugly head, then it was the PPI was supposed to be above, CPI was printed at 0.5% and actually came in at 0.6%. Not too bad. So that's why things are not totally reacting negatively this morning. All right, Asia is mixed this morning. Europe also mixed, not moving a whole lot. There's our numbers from yesterday. Even though we finished slightly in the red, remember with gapping down and gapping up, that can affect those candlesticks. So even if you gap down and then they're up, it can have a green candlestick, even though we were red across the board. You can look into candlesticks if you don't understand what I just said there. Here is the 10-year. Treasurer basically not moving this morning after the key inflation report. Slightly higher, that's at 0.6 versus 0.5 expected. So kind of a non-issue this morning, did not spook the markets. Oil 40 to 60 range, slightly above that, not too worried about it. Gold and silver, again, these are probably anticipatory purchases for folks that thought the inflation number was going to be higher, and it indeed was not. So since it wasn't higher, I would imagine it's going to sell off probably throughout the day. And then crypto back down below 63,000, but basically almost a 5% jump ahead of the Coinbase debut tomorrow. All right, let's take a look at some headlines here. Dow lower because of J&J. That makes sense. Again, if you heard him talk about this morning, six cases across so many doses, it's like less than 1 in a million. So they also threw out the fact that the flu vaccine kills a handful of people every year. That it's not a devastating blow, if you will. So perfection, of course, is the expectation with all of these things. So if anything happens, then it's time for everybody to freak out. And of course, if you're one of the 6 or 6 families that are affected, obviously, that's obviously it affects you different than everybody. But as a whole, I don't think it's really going to slow things down. So in other words, don't overinterpret the decision. It's not going to change the economy exploding back open, in my opinion. Gasoline up 9%. I did not see that earlier. It's the consumer price index, 0.6 instead of 0.5. So a small move, if you will. Nothing major, though. Okay, here's another one. If you want to trade this, if you look over in the longs in the chat, AGC is the special purpose acquisition company that's taking Grab public, which is a Chinese Grubhub, if you will, largest SPAC merger in the world. So pretty impressive. I'm not going to participate. I'm going to watch it today. It'll be up on a side screen just to see what AGC is doing. AGC is doing. But yeah, I might consider trading that this morning. We'll pull it up here in a minute. There's the Bitcoin headline. Okay, this is interesting. 3 in 4 professional investors see Bitcoin as a bubble. And I would say, being a professional investor, we might actually be the worst people to judge what Bitcoin is going to be. So that's being a little bit humble in the fact that we're stuck in pretty much, not necessarily stuck, but we've used a traditional mindset for investing for so long that it's hard sometimes to shake your own paradigm, if you will, and see new things as an opportunity. So that's where I had to finally own up to Bitcoin, when it was down at 30,000, we started talking about it. Maybe I don't get this. Maybe there is something here. And if I don't exactly understand it, I can still invest in it. But certainly it'd be interesting to see if they said, what are the millennial stats here? Nearly 9 of 10 millennials see Bitcoin as the future currency, right? I don't know. That's a made up stat on my part, but just because professional investors don't like it, doesn't mean it's not going to be a thing. And you heard Kramer yesterday talk about getting paid in Bitcoin. He's like, yeah, pay me in Bitcoin. I don't care. Now, obviously, he's got a lot more money than the rest of us, probably. So you can say those things when it kind of doesn't matter anymore. But he's obviously on board now. What he does say about the Coinbase IPO, which is obviously going to be tomorrow's topic, is it's not a pay any price participation thing. So we're not going to market order into it just because we can, right? So we're going to take a good look at what's a good valuation for it and see how it's going to act tomorrow before we hop in. Okay, that is it for the headlines. Let's go over to, have to use Yahoo. Finviz doesn't deal with some of the trusts out there. I have a 6-month chart here. You can go out to a year, but it gets a little, well, let's just use the year chart. So here's 6 months ago. That's October, so kind of flashing right back before the election. It was down at 14. Now it's up at 51. If you relate that to true Bitcoin prices, gosh, what's that? That's well below 30, probably in the 20 range. But just looking at this chart, and you're like, well, how can it go higher based on a 50% move in the past, 6 months, or even more than a 50% move? That's a, excuse me, I misspoke there. From 12 to 51, that's a 100, 200, it's a 300, 3X type move. And you're like, well, can it continue higher? And a lot of people say based on the chart, no. But you can't just look at the chart. You have to, look at what it is and where it's going, that sort of thing. So I've called 100K in this. I do think the way that it's going to continue higher. What would that mean for GBTC? Probably up into the 70s before I would actually consider selling this thing, or something changes. Right now, I don't see a negative headline for Bitcoin. I don't think the Coinbase IPO will flop by any means, because I think there's going to be too many people that will blindly buy it. But we may not be looking at the Palantir, just double our money, in the first 2 months or whatever, or Roblox where we're up, 10, 20% in this thing fairly quickly. I don't know how Coinbase is going to react, but I do think that just Coinbase opening up their direct listing is going to give Bitcoin a pretty big surge higher. We've seen that today. I do think that continues throughout the week. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the, we're a little bit early today. We're going to skip the Schwab. Well, let's go real quick over to Schwab. I'll show you the GBTC chart here. So you've got the earnings out, of course, that the trust has the earnings. It's a little bit different from normal earnings because you're not talking, they're just talking their own internal earnings, but it really tracks the Bitcoin price. You can see the heavy volume back in here, and I think we're going to see that volume spike again. There are other alternatives out there where back here, if you go 3 months ago, there were not other alternatives to be able to hold Bitcoin in a trust. So a little bit of a differential there, but I do think this chart continues up just fine. All right, now let's go over to TD Ameritrade and set up for our trades. All right, as far as our screens here, we've got SPY on the left like we always do. Let's check out, let's put CAN, our long. Why is this not reacting correctly? Not recognizing it. So we may not be using it. Let's try it in another window just in case we have something goofy here. CAN, no. Well, let's try our short. LHDX, LHDX. All right, we're going to kill this think pipes real quick. We're going to kill it off and start it back up. So it is not reacting correctly. And we've got just amount of time to do that before the open. So while I'm doing that, let's talk about what is a cryptocurrency. Move that ahead a little bit here. So here's your definition. Well, that's rebooting. Virtual currency secured by cryptography. Okay, I can't profess to know exactly what those words even mean, but you certainly see the relationship to the, clear the cache, rebooting this. You can certainly see the relationship to the technology blockchain there. So, decentralized network, that's the beauty of it. Everything is tracked completely accurately, but also anonymously. So you cannot see, you can see the transactions, you just can't see who's doing it, which is the difference there. So that's why people like it so much, initially starting in kind of a nefarious role, if you will, and now certainly gone mainstream. And what you don't talk about too often is the fact that there are countries out there that actually transact in this if their current currency is in not usable. In other words, the government has destroyed it. All right, there's our CAN. We're going to get LHDX in here. All right, welcome everyone to the On Time on Target play of the day. Market just opened a few seconds ago. We have the SPY over here on a 1 minute chart. We have CAN long based off of an earnings beat plus almost 10%. LHDX is our short. The news there is a downgrade. That's Lucira Health. And then we'll have another one over here that we just want to monitor, and that's the J&J. See how that's affecting their stock. Obviously, they have the their potential for their vaccine to get pulled here. All right, CAN, which I can't remember what it is, so let me type it in again so I can see it. Not going to cooperate. Canon Inc., that's what it is. Again, beat earnings and guided up. There, LHDX has already gone short out of our window. J&J is bouncing. So looking at the selling here in CAN, that's a 40-cent move down. Normally, I would like that at the low of the day and take it right back up, but I don't know enough about the company to really be able to do that. LHDX has gone too far down, so let's take a look at some of the other shorts. APHA was down 6% earlier. It's bouncing again. I like entering the marijuana stocks here, which are being drugged down by both Tilray and Afria with their merger. So again, a lot of negativity there, nothing to really trade off of. And then MJ down closer to 21. I think you can buy it here. Oh, I don't think it's going to move enough to trade it, but certainly as soon as I'm off air, I'm going to be buying MJ hand over fist. That's just too low. When you look at this chart, backing it out, bounced up here at 35. It just keeps down. There's plenty of resistance here at 20. I think you're safe in getting in it. That's more long term. All right, let's go back to looking for something to trade short term. Let's look at we'll go longs across the board. Invax, Moderna, mRNA. So these were up earlier based off of that negative news and then kind of settled in off of again, these are reactionary plays off of the J&J vaccine being potentially discontinued. So those are both up. Not enough to really trade those though. Let's look at AGC. AGC. Again, this is the SPAC taking Grab public. Again, Grab's the Chinese. It's either ride hailing or Grubhub. I can't remember. So it's either the Grubhub equivalent or the Uber equivalent. I think it's Grubhub. But obviously, it's really not moving a whole lot. So I would have expected it to move a lot higher. Let's take a look at a bigger chart here. All right, that's probably the rumor of it actually happening, and now it actually happens. So things already really made its move from 11 up to about 15 or so, and now kind of settling in. So don't really see a way to enter that either. Looks like we may not get a trade today. Z-Lab was up on earnings. Excuse me, is it earnings? Yeah. No, Z-Lab's up on some medical news. Unfortunately, these don't trade a whole lot, so pretty thin on the trading, but up 16%. No real way to trade that. And then Riley, RILY, was entered into the S&P small cap. Again, gapping up nicely, but really no way to play it there. Canon selling off, so no way to get into that. So it looks like no trades for today. All right, let's look at GBTC. Selling him some from the gap up. We'll put up Luck and Coffee. It was up 10% today or yesterday. So now up another 4% today. So back this out a little bit to the 5-day chart. So that's kind of a nice move up after it was depressing, went all the way down to 8, up to 950. So it's kind of back in play. And then BABA yesterday obviously moved up almost 10%. It's selling gap down overnight, been kind of on the way up. You could almost take this long here. This is a beautiful setup. Set the low of the day, 239.50. 250 would be 242 as the entry point. So, anyhow, this trade worked yesterday. If you followed it at all, it worked at around 1 p.m. So if you stayed with the trade that we took at 8:34, whatever it was, Central Time, it worked 3.5, 4 hours later. So. Let's see. Any benefit to looking at a 15-second chart for this strategy? Not really. I think you're going to see too much movement to be able to make a decision on. You can go to a tick. Some people trade off tick charts, which I don't even know if I can do. I can't do with this particular platform, but I can with others. Generally, no, because you're going to, and Apex is asking this question, you can get too much information, if you will, at least with a 1-minute chart. And, when you look at, let's just look at Bitcoin GBTC in this first minute, That's 200 or 187,000 shares. That's actually not correct. 262,000 shares. I don't know. I think you would get lost in the numbers or spooked into doing something because it's going too fast. I also think 5 minutes too slow. There are lots of folks that think if you trade off a 1 minute chart, you're a fool. So some people trade off a 5 minute chart. However, they're not taking trades until 15 minutes into the day. And I think we're generally back out of the trade by that point. But I will caveat it with this. With my particular strategy, I honestly don't care if I'm wrong, because I'm going to be wrong a lot. So when you make 3x and lose, or you make 3R and lose 1R, you only have to be right 25% of the time to be profitable. Well, that's break even. So a little more than 25% of the time. So think of it like baseball. Hitting 300 is considered, professional level numbers. If you hit 300 with my strategy, you're printing money all year long, right? So if you stick to the strategy, you can't change the math up. But that's why I like mine. I don't really care if I'm wrong. So I can take a trade. If you're using one of these systems where you need to be right like 50, 70, 80, 90% of the time, then you have to wait and you have to use a longer time frame. So anyhow, lots of things to consider. Go luckin'. Marching 6% higher there. My phone's probably blowing up on the luckin' story already this morning for some of us that have a lot of it, if you will. Okay, let's back out and take a look at what's moving in the big picture. That's an Apple call, Luckin, Moderna, Bitcoin, BioNTech, MongoDB, Tech Stock, Trade Desk, Tech Stock, Twilio, same. Tesla, I have not even uttered the Tesla word in a while. I have no idea where it's at. So, okay, so it came down here to 600. 600 is looking like it's developed a little bit of a resistance level. A lot of positive calm out there as far as Tesla being the wave of the future and things. So Zoom back up, ArcW, that's the innovation shop, is Shopify, FireEye, PayPal. Looking for Apple in here. Where's Apple at? There's Apple, up 1%. What's that? 232, somewhere in there. 132. I missed 100. 132. So kind of a nice move up this morning in Apple. And you can see over the past 4 trading days, it's moved up, except for yesterday. So last week, I should say, it moved up pretty nicely. All right, let's see what's not working for us out there. Delta Airlines, couple of obscure names up there. Delta, Raytheon has just been a house of pain, completely undervalued, but rough. IBM, JP Morgan, banks are selling off a little bit with the hype in the cryptocurrencies right now. So there's Bank of America, XLF is the financials. One, Alibaba down 1% after its big move up yesterday after the fine news. Boeing selling off a little bit. It had a big move down yesterday. K-Web still selling off. There's Roblox about even. So, all right, not too many names in the red as far as the overall markets. NASDAQ's up almost 1%. S&P 500 barely in the green. And then Dow Jones is 0.5% in the red. I think that's due to J&J. All right, let's leave this for now and go back to the cryptocurrencies, which kind of already talked about. So let's look in here for some key takeaways. All right. Based on a network, large computers, how can you mine it? Well, the best explanation I've heard from how can you mine it is, does money mine itself? Well, I would say no, that's stupid, is when I first heard somebody say that. But again, they're really smart. So I was like, okay, I'm listening, and I'm not even going to say yes or no. I'm just going to let you continue. So think about, does money mine itself? Well, no, not physically, but if I put $100 in a bank account, then yeah, it grows over time due to interest, and then interest gets paid out. So kind of, $100 in even a savings account is going to grow incrementally over time, kind of very small. Is it computer power that's doing it? No, it's the power of interest and compound interest. But you can think of it that way. So that's the way, if you hear people, or you're seeing ads for make money off your crypto, well, what you're doing there is you are buying crypto, the best I can tell, what you're doing there is you're buying the crypto outright. So you buy a bunch of Ethereum, and then you turn around and you loan it back to your whoever holds it for you, your custodian or your Coinbase or whoever happens to hold it, and then they turn around and are able to loan it out to folks, and basically you're making money off of your crypto. So it's interesting when they're like, well, and they're guaranteeing things which banks should never guarantee, or these companies are saying, well, we'll guarantee 6% on your crypto and another 2% in interest that you're going to make off your crypto. So if you guarantee somebody 8%, yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, let's do it. I don't think they can hold that guarantee forever. I think that guarantee only works, kind of like the housing market back in 2005, when it's just like you can't lose money buying a house, so everybody should buy a house. Well, it's great until it isn't, and then when it isn't, it's really bad, and you find out who is over leveraged. So I don't necessarily I wouldn't go all in on any of these strategies, but certainly you want to get out there and dabble with a coin wallet and buy crypto and turn around and loan it back out and see what kind of rate of return you get. Do it with small amounts and learn from it. Okay, I'm going to wrap up for today. Today and tomorrow is going to be all about Coinbase and setting up for this thing and seeing how we want to play it. So reach out if you're interested. With that, I'm going to let you go. You guys have a great day. Bye.